I was laying out all my clothes and I was saying, here's what I'm going to pack. And I wanted to do a packing
Have you already
video.
packed?
Believe it or not, I have everything organized. And all I have to do, I ordered those sealed baggy things and I wanted to put them in those, the airtight. And they're gigantic. So they're not even, so I'm just like, forget it. I'm just going to get gallon baggies and do it that way. But I am going to put it in gallon baggies. You're not? You can do packing cubes.
No, I'm going to use my packing cubes.
I know, but I'm like, everything, like the dampness and everything. So I thought, well, I'll go for the baggies this time. Look at her face. I might put the baggies inside the packing cubes.
It's fine. Whatever.
Whatever. Hi, Julie.
Hi.
I'm laughing because I'm already thinking about the story that I told you yesterday that had me hysterical laughing, and I'm laughing again about it.
Yeah.
Because I wish I had
story.
I know. I wish I had saved it for the podcast, but if I did, I don't think I would be functional to tell it because I was laughing so hard that I wasn't even audible. So I think I'm in a better position to tell it today. But I did just have lunch with Megan and I mentioned it to her. And I wasn't laughing to the point of not being able to speak, but I was able to tell the story and condense it so that it made sense. So I'm going to tell you briefly what happened when I had to go get my passport updated for our trip.
Well, you have to start from the beginning. The very beginning, we have this trip planned to Tahiti. So that's why some of the podcast episodes are going to be re-releases of old episodes because we have been a traveling crew.
We have.
But we went to Olivia's wedding. She is my cousin, your niece. We went to her wedding, and the night of the rehearsal dinner, me, you, Tommy, Jenna, Steven, and Dad are all sitting around at the end of this table, and we're talking about the trip to Tahiti because we're going on a sailing trip. We're going to Tahiti in like a week from yesterday of us recording this. We'll probably be in Tahiti when this releases, but we're talking about it, and someone mentions, I think Dad mentions like, I hope my passport's okay because I think it's expiring soon. Right.
And he said that he mentioned this to me in the summer. He said, I mentioned it to you in the summer that we have to have our passports have to be good for 6 months. And I'm like, well, it was midsummer. What was I going to do? I can't send the passports in at that point because what if I don't get them back in time for the trip? Because the trip is in September. So I just was like, we'll be fine, like I typically do. And I didn't worry about it until he mentioned it in front of Jenna, who did the research immediately online and said, oh my God, because her passport was expiring the same day as Tom's and mine was expiring a week before that. So cue the panic that went on because Jenna went into a panic, which is understandable. Okay. I kind of went, all right, I guess we got to figure out how we're getting these passports fixed. And so we went about figuring out how that was going to happen. And you have to you make an appointment once you're within 2 weeks of travel, but that's stressful. So she booked a flight to get herself an earlier appointment, which I think is hilarious.
Which is crazy because then we were with her while she's trying to book this appointment. And there's only a few countries where you need 6 months of eligibility. A lot of countries it's only 3. So she was having a hard time trying to find like not a crazy expensive flight that you had to be 6 months out from. Because there's like a lot of the European countries, it's like 3 months. So that wasn't, and a lot of like that. Like Bermuda,
a lot to be learned.
Bahamian,
a lot to be learned.
Yeah.
A lot was learned,
so
I'll say.
That was the beginning. And then chaos ensued when you tried to now go to your appointment.
Yes. And what happened is, though, for me, when something like this is so important and it's like papers and legal work, which is why I thankfully never went into like any kind of paperwork type of scenario in my career because it's like stressful. I get high stress about like, am I going to have everything? So I'm looking at the thing, what do we need to bring? I got to bring passport photos. And 5 hours later, trying to make passport photos happen because I took the photos and they were perfect, but I couldn't print them. Then I'm going to one printing place. They didn't have photo paper. Another printing place, they're closed. Now another, go home, get paper, go back to the first place. And I finally got these photos printed. So that I was so obsessed on these photos that then, and I have everything's ready. Like the photos are ready. The passports are ready. I got social security cards ready. Everything's on the table ready to go for the next morning. And I'm laying in bed. And right before I went to bed, I was scrolling on TikTok and I saw a video and it was so funny. And I sent it to you because it was the difference between a guy and girl falling asleep at night. And the guy was saying, yeah, when I go to sleep, I just power down and I just relax. And then I go to sleep and I just shut my thoughts down for the night. It's like powering down a computer. And the woman was like, what do you mean? What about the narrator? And what about the music? So she has like things in her head. And it was a really funny TikTok and I sent it to you. But then, and I was thinking, oh, that's so funny. I'm the guy. I definitely power down. Like that's how I go when get in bed. I just slowly power the brain down. So I was So that's what I was thinking as I went to sleep. And as I'm laying there, I guess powering down, I bolted up in bed and I realized I never printed out or filled out the application that you also have to bring. And I don't know why that came into my mind at that moment because I thought I was powering down, but clearly my brain was still working. I bolted up in bed and I'm like, oh my God. And it was 1 a.m. I had to get up and fill out the applications, print them, and then put them on the table, have them signed. I printed out our itinerary for the trip, so that we'd have that proof. So I had everything printed and on the table. In the morning, Dad signs, I sign, I put everything in an envelope. Okay. That's the key word there. I put everything in an envelope, a nice folio, and off we go. And now we're at this appointment and we're online. And there's a woman in front of us, and you can hear people's transactions happening in front of you. So there's a woman who was saying like, oh, I don't have my itinerary printed out. Can I show it to you on my phone? And I hear the guy say, yes, that's fine. And then you have to email it to us. Just take a screenshot. So she's doing that. And then he goes, do you have your photos? And she goes, no. And he goes, you didn't bring passport photos? She goes, no. So I say to Dad at this point, I go, who comes to an appointment for a passport without their passport photos? And he just looks at me with a blank face and goes, the same person who would come without the application. And I'm dying. And I just was like, wow, ate my words.
You really did.
I could not stop laughing anyway because he was so on point because I almost showed up without the application. Anyway, cut to the chase. The second part of it that was ridiculous is I get up to the window and she's like, what about your travel plans? And I'm like, oh, yep, I printed those out. And I go into the little folio. No, they're not there. I left them on the table. I put everything else in the folio and I didn't have that. So I had to screenshot it and send it. And then I was so proud of the photos. You have your pictures? Yes, I do. Not only do I have them, I have 5 copies in case anything's wrong. He looks at them and he goes,
5 copies?
I brought 5 copies of the photo. Well, once I was printing them. So then he looks at me and goes, oh, those are too blurry. Come in the back. I'm going to take them over again. After all of my time spent getting those photos printed, they were not okay. Like, this is the end of me. I just needed it to be done. I was like, how could getting a passport turn into such an utter shit show in 3 seconds flat? Oh my God. But I was laughing so hard I couldn't even talk. I couldn't speak.
Did you pick up the passports? Do you have them yet?
Not yet. We picked them up on Friday. So yeah. I still don't have passports in hand. It's very stressful.
That's
and then
very
Dad was like,
stressful.
oh, well, we'll pick them up. We'll pick them up Monday because we're going to go to the beach Thursday night. I said, no. We got to pick them up Friday because we're leaving Tuesday. I can't have no passport until the day before.
No, you need
The
to
whole
get it.
thing was so stressful. Yikes.
My
So
goodness.
this is a lesson to anyone traveling internationally. And I was just thinking about Croatia. I never even looked, and I'm like, was I within 6 months? I guess I was because that was July
yeah.
and mine expires in February. So I was cutting it close, but it's pretty close. February. How do you say it?
I don't know. You just say it very Jersey.
February. Very Jersey.
February. You're like February.
Oh my God, I'm exhausted. This trip, by the time I get there, I'm just going to be spent. And then I was me and Jenna were doing like the whole packing thing. So I was laying out all my clothes and I was saying, here's what I'm going to pack. And I wanted to do a packing
Have you already
video.
packed?
Believe it or not, I have everything organized. And all I have to do, I ordered those sealed baggy things and I wanted to put them in those, the airtight. And they're gigantic. Yeah. So they're not even, so I'm just like, forget it. I'm just going to get gallon baggies and do it that way. But I am going to put it in gallon baggies because then you can compress them and make it even smaller than the packing cubes, which is what I think I'm going to do this time around. I think I'm going baggies, just saying. You're not? You're going to do packing cubes?
No, I'm going to use my packing cubes.
I know, but I'm like, everything, like the dampness and everything. So I thought, well, I'll go for the baggies this time. Look at her face. I might put the baggies inside the packing cubes.
I just don't. It's
because
fine,
I can
compress
it. You can compress the air out of the baggies. I remember doing that.
All you have to do is sit on like your clothes in your suitcase in the packing cubes, and that compresses them.
Oh, okay. I guess I could do that. We'll see. We'll
it's
see what
fine.
transpires.
Whatever.
Whatever. So it's going to be an adventure, and we're taking everyone with us on this trip, I think, because there will be content. Even if people are annoyed by me, because I will be filming the content, and everyone's going to have to get over it.
Everyone's going to have to get over it.
I have another funny tidbit. So recently you might have noticed Tom is in a few of my videos and he's not usually in my content. He doesn't like to be in the content.
What is going on?
Yes. Well, and let me tell you, it's pretty funny because I choose my moment when I'm like, oh, let me do a video. And then sometimes I say, this is just for me because I know that he doesn't necessarily want to be on the internet. So I'll say,
Yeah.
oh, this is just for me. So at the wedding, Olivia's wedding, I made the video and everything, and then I edited it, and there was one shot of him in it, but then I had to cut it down from 2 minutes to 90 seconds to get it on Instagram Reels. So I was picking shots that I was dropping, and I'm like, the shot of him, it was like from the side, and he was talking to Bill, and it wasn't like a great shot. So I said, all right, if I'm going to cut, like I'll cut that one, I'll cut that one. And he looks at the video and he goes, oh, I'm not even in the video. And I'm thinking, he never wants to be in the video. So that threw me for a loop. But I guess he's like, I thought that I would be in that video. I was like, oh, okay. I don't know if there's times when I should put him in the video or not. So it was just kind of a funny moment. And then when I was on the boat, I said, all right, I'm going to take a video of him. And I edited it in. Now people are noticing, but I'm like, I think maybe him mentioning that he wasn't in a video has opened me up to maybe occasionally he'll make an appearance in a video now when he's in the mood. So stay tuned. And there was comments on my thing. Oh, I think I see Captain Tom in the videos from like.
I commented. I was like, "Oh my God, a Tom appearance! How rare! Yes. How special!" You got 2 Tom appearances.
I did
this summer.
Recently.
One in Croatia and then one. Yeah.
So we're eking them in. We're eking them in slowly. We're just like dribbling. We're dropping some crumbs, and we'll see what happens. But I know he doesn't want to. He's not an in front of the camera guy. You know, when I see a camera, I'm immediately smiling, which is why I had so much trouble taking a passport picture without smiling, because I'm saying to the guy, I know this is hard. I really want to smile for the photo. It was funny. He was laughing at me. But that's my instinct. Like I see a camera, like smile, let's go. Like I'm into it. And he's not. So I respect it. I understand it.
That's good. That's good.
And then same with Johnny. I have to pick and choose when I'm going to get him in the photos and the videos.
Well, he has to be in the right mood.
How was your Mexico City wedding? We should talk about that.
Yes.
Because you've had you've been on a wedding stretch.
Oh my goodness. Wedding kick back to back.
Crazy.
Well, we were in Mexico City. It's funny because we got back on Monday of this past week. Tuesday, we both woke up. We did work. We were doing things. And then yesterday, for some reason, it caught up to us.
Oh my
the
God.
Exhaustion hit both of us. We were so incredibly tired and could not do anything.
Traveling is exhausting. And I don't know why, because you're sitting on a plane. You're not doing anything.
But I think it's exhausting because especially when, so for context, we were going to Steven's cousin's wedding in Mexico City, and it was Labor Day weekend. We flew out on Thursday morning-ish. We landed at 4:30 in the afternoon, and we got there by 5. Mm-hmm. And every day we had wedding events. Besides the first day we landed, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, wedding events. So we had events from, I'm going to say 5 on every evening. But every day we were like, okay, well, let's try and do as much as we can during the day to see the city since we have evening activities at the wedding. So I think part of it was the fact that we were literally putting as much as possible into a 4-day trip to Mexico City. And we did do a lot. And every day we walked a couple 6-7 miles just walking around the city.
Yeah. Which is understandable because you're there and it's you want to maximize. So you're trying to fill every minute. Yeah, I get it.
Exactly.
I get it. I'm the same. I want to fill every minute because I don't want to think, oh, I didn't do this. I was in this city and I didn't experience it. So it's good to do that. But I was so very jealous. What is the word for jealous again in Spanish? Anyway, I was so jealous.
Enviosa?
Spanish. Enviosa? Yeah,
maybe.
Probably. Maybe. Embarazada. Embarazada is, I think, pregnant.
That's pregnant.
Yeah. There's some words that mean funny things. Anyway.
It was funny, though, because I took Spanish from 4th grade until my senior year of high school. So
it comes back to you, right?
8 years of Spanish. Yeah. And it all came back. And I was able to honestly communicate pretty well with almost everyone we had to encounter. I was able to order most of the time. It's just the hard part is when a native speaker obviously says something really fast, or they mumble, or they or they string their words together, then it gets a little hard. But for the most part, I'd say 75% of the time I was able to understand, communicate, and at least say something back.
That's amazing.
I'd have to look up. I think one of the biggest things is I forgot a lot of the vocabulary of specific words of not car, but
what something
stupid
is.
Yeah, a bottle of water. I know how to say agua, but you also can't drink the tap water there, so you have to specifically ask for a bottle of water everywhere, not just the tap. So it's botella. But I did really good on the Spanish until the last day. Steven had bought these sunglasses and they weren't ready by the time we were going to leave. So I had to like talk to and when we bought the sunglasses, there was a American woman working at the store who spoke English and Spanish. So she was helping us. And then we go back and it's a Monday and the only guy there speaks only Spanish. And it was very difficult. So we ended up just like, I didn't want to mess up the exchange of the sunglasses. So I had to use Google Translate. But I would give myself a pat on the back that I was able to do Spanish for like 4 days. It all came back. I was able,
What
no
was your
issues.
Spanish teacher's name again?
Senora Wishart.
Oh, in high school?
Yeah, I think so.
I couldn't remember. I was trying to remember if I'd know.
But now I'm like, I need to get back into it. I need to get like,
right.
So I got to start. I need to get on the Duolingo game. I need to get a textbook or something.
Good. Maybe we can practico español en Tahiti.
Sí.
Sí, señora.
Yo quiero.
Señorita. Yo lo quiero. I want it. I don't know. I guess I got to practice too. I like fell off the wagon because I know, because my thing is with the Spanish, every time this is such a weird thing, but every time I try and I book one of the teachers and then I'm meeting with her 3 times a week. And then as we're
3 times a week,
I was doing 3 times a week for a couple of months there. And it was good. Like, it was good.
Wow.
But what happened is she first started pretty much like curriculum-ish, like we're going to study this week. I like a plan. I want to know this week we're going hard on past tense. We're going to practice these words, memorize these words, do these words, and speak about these words. I don't like this like first 20 minutes of the hour lesson. It's like we're just having a chat in Spanish, because that's not really helping me. It's not helping me. I'm not learning anything. And what happens every time I book one of these online teachers is that 20 minutes of like the chit chat, just like, oh, hola, como fue el fin de semana? How was the weekend? And then I have to try in Spanish to tell her what I did on the weekend. And it's draining, and I'm not learning by doing that. As much as you think, oh, maybe you'll learn a word or two here. No, it's not helping me, because I just want a plan. Give me words, give me lesson, and then we're going to talk about those things and converse about those things. But this was like, we're having a free form conversation for 20 minutes, which, because then the things I'm trying to tell her, I'm struggling. So it takes 30 minutes for me to, maybe even 40 something. Like half the lesson is wasted on me struggling to try and communicate what I did on the weekend. And then they're into it. So they're asking me questions like, well, what videos did you record? And what did you post on TikTok? And so I end up speaking about that. And then what happens is they get more into like wanting to ask me questions about my life, and we have less lesson time. So that's what this had finally evolved into, where it went from like I was getting a solid 50-minute lesson to a 40-minute lesson to a 30. It was down to like I was getting 20 minutes of study of Spanish. And then we weren't practicing the things I was learning.
It's like you need to sign up for like an in-person class.
I need to go to school. Absolutely. I need to be back in like Spanish 4 in high school. That's what I need.
Yeah.
And I got to find that in the city. I got to be able to find that in the city. So that's going to be my mission, because it's really crazy. Because I know I have the potential to do this, because I remember being really good at Spanish in high school. But it's the way they taught it there that was logical for my brain. And I think that's what I'm struggling with.
It's interesting because like the way they taught it in school for me, like yes, it was logical. But I think for me, being in Mexico City and like talking to people was more helpful for my Spanish than like
that figures
the logical part of it. Because it's like, I feel like
they call that immersion.
I know, but if I went back to like a Spanish class now, I'm like, I feel like I would still struggle with like all the tenses and all that. Like, I feel like the best, like if I had gone to Mexico for like 3 weeks in high school, my Spanish would have been like so much better, because it's like you really just need to be like immersed versus like doing it. But it's like you need the foundation of like the conjugations and the vocab. But like but I also feel like once you have that, it's like, well, I think the best practice is just being surrounded by it, I guess.
I know, it makes sense and I get it, but I just also, the way my brain works is very like, I want to be able to nail the conjugation so quickly that it becomes second nature. And I'd rather no, because I'm pretty good. Like she would say every time we had the lesson, she goes, man, your conjugation is like amazing. I come right back, because that I have worked hard to know. And even when I got into learning the past tense conjugations, I was really good at it, because I will commit, like I'm going to know how the tenses work. And so it's just a combination. But for my brain, I like the logic. I like the order.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you don't, because you seem like you'd be more like prefer that type of organization.
No, because I think is it for me. What I always I feel like we're taking too long on Spanish, but
I
for
know.
me, what I always struggled with in high school was like I don't understand when these tenses are being used. Like I never like it
Mm.
was always hard to grasp that. Whereas like when you're in real scenarios, it's like oh I see,
Oh, they're
I
using
need
that
the pat.
tense.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, the present perfect versus the past perfect, or whatever. I got you. I understand that makes sense, and it is very different because of the way the tenses work as opposed to in English. All right, enough on
yeah.
Spanish. That was. I'm happy we talked about it though, because now you're making me think I really have to just find a regular class. So I'm gonna write it on my list. Did you see on one of the
I even want to
podcasts?
find a regular class.
Find a good Spanish class. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do a weight training class. Those are my two things for the fall: Spanish and weight training. Because I've been doing weights really good with my video class here, but it's nothing. There's nothing like being in person when you like go that extra mile because you're in person. So I'm going to find one in the neighborhood.
Well,
Onward to the next topic.
onward.
Okay. So the next topic. Do you have a topic you want to talk about?
No, I feel like we're just giving people an update on what's been
I
going
know.
on.
Well, so the update includes like the excitement of Socialize, which is like burning in my brain of how we're going to now have a paid community. So I want to talk about that for 2 seconds because I finally wrapped my head around it, and I feel that I'm finally embracing what it could be. And of course, I mean, it's just how I'm wired that I have like the fear of what if nobody wants to be in it.
You got to get over that. You got to like believe what you're putting out there people want to see. That's like with the same thing with like why would you post on social media? Who wants to see your videos? It's the same
Oh.
mentality.
That's true, actually. Oh God. Well, I should put it in my head that way.
There
That
you
makes
go.
perfect sense. Yeah.
Boom.
Because I have no
done.
question about that. I have no question about that. I know. It's going to be good. And I was just reviewing all the things when you sent me the document, and I'm like, I like all the things that's going to happen. It's like an organized place to find stuff. We're going to do weekly Zoom meet. I really like the weekly Zoom meetings where I'm going to get like the people are going to be in the Zoom meetings, and we're going to that's going to be so fun. I guess I have a question about that for somebody, which is how do you manage like somebody monopolizing the Zoom meeting? Do you know how that works? Have you guys talked about that?
I feel like it's gonna still be like a webinar where people still have to
No,
like
she said
write.
everybody's on faces.
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
All right. I like your answer.
I don't think that's a
out.
concern at this point.
I guess
You can
not.
always. I think you can if you're like the host. You can mute people.
Okay. Oh, okay. You'll be in charge of that, not me.
Boom.
Boom. I'll be like,
I have no fear. Piss me
Oh my
off and
God.
see what happens in
You
the
have
chat.
to be at the debate where you mute the mics. This is so funny. Mute
I
the
would be
mics.
good at
Boom.
that job.
That's
Yeah.
funny. Brutal. But I'm excited about that. So I feel like that's a good thing that we're
I know
we're venturing
it'll
into.
be good. I'm excited for. I feel like this Tahiti is the last of my travels this year,
Oh, yeah.
as we know it, and I could not be happier that
You're
I
ready
don't
to
have
just
to get.
settle.
I feel like I can't get into a routine.
Yeah.
It's like I can't do anything. I have been traveling like for the most part every 3 to 4 weeks, every 3
Yeah.
weeks since February. I've been on a plane. Like I haven't had any semblance of like steady routine of being home for more than like the only
Yeah.
time I was home for more than a month was after Chicago, after like when the kidney stones happened because we didn't come to LBI. That was the only time I was home this year for more than a month, which is insane.
But you know what? I guess also part of that is it wasn't all travel for like exciting places. It was
No.
like coming home for the wedding and going home, coming home for another wedding, coming home for it was always coming to the home front instead of traveling somewhere exotic.
Besides like Tahiti and Jackson Hole, we
Yeah.
had like no decision making in where we travel, which is like part of it. It's like, yes, we've been doing all these trips, but none of them have really been for locations that necessarily would have like been our first instinct of like a vacation, or it was
That's
always to
different.
be going home, or it was like to see family, which is always good. But it's just like, okay, we need to go on a trip where we
Yeah.
pick the destination because that's where we want to go.
I know that, and that's why I'm happy about Tahiti also, because I just wish in hindsight, there's no way we could know this because we didn't know the sequence of events that were going to happen, whose weddings we were going to be. We just didn't know this when we planned this trip so far ahead that
Yeah.
I always think, oh, it would have been better if we did it in October for some reason. Because I just feel like summer just ended. September is such a pleasant time to be around here. And we should have moved it to October when it's starting to get chilly. I don't know why. I think we did September because we were just trying to coordinate with everybody, and it was like a good time of year for Tommy and Jenna. They were going to be coming and then doing their honeymoon, so maybe that's why. I don't know. We landed on September, which for whatever reason, I wish that was one more month of like, but then I look at it like this. I have a big Sensodyne job in October, so it was meant to be that it's happening now because that would really be stressful. I probably wouldn't be able to do that job, so it was meant to be this way. So I'm good. It was meant to be. Oh gosh, Grandma sent me a text this morning. And it says, wait, let me pull it up because I just want you to like understand. So this is what comes. Oh gosh, find it. So
I also,
go ahead. I found it. Go ahead.
I got like 10 minutes left before it becomes a sauna in here.
Okay, let me just read this to you. So she wrote me this text. Dad saw this morning while reading the paper. Ironic, isn't it? And it's her horoscope. So it's a clip of her horoscope. Take time to remind yourself today that the greater scheme of things, there is no such thing as coincidence. Everything takes place in your life has meaning. There is a very good reason for what is now occurring. Find out what that is. And she wrote me, ironic, because I guess something happened and she feels like maybe it happened for a reason. Meanwhile, I just read it like sort of that's every day. So I don't know what you're sending me this for. So I wrote, I think that way every day. So I was trying to figure out what the irony is because I didn't even know why she's sending this. Like, that's how I always think. Everything's happening for a reason.
Oh my gosh.
Am I not the only person? I guess I'm not a lot of people think that way. I don't know.
I don't know.
Like Tom will always say, "Oh yeah, I know you always believe like the way things are meant to be or the universe." I'm like, "Yeah, because what are you going to do? Fight it?" I don't know. Just power through. Anyway,
I feel like I have like I do like a halvesy of that. Like I sometimes I do believe that, but then it's like sometimes it's like the people who want control. It's hard for. It's like.
When you want, it's harder for people who want control. That's what
but
you're
it's
saying.
Also like a thing I feel like I use to tell myself when it's like out of my control, or it's like, oh, this is happening for a reason.
Yeah, I mostly think that way. It's so weird. Like 95% of the time, I think that way. And it's not to say that I don't try and make things. I don't just sit here like a Gumby and expect life to happen because it's meant to be. Like, I'm making things happen. I'm moving forward. And then I'm like, oh, that happened because that was meant to be. Just even something as simple as crazy as this is the whole thing that's happening with the Sensodyne job, where it was going to be a whole mothership production. And then they decided they want to do it in-house and they just want to hire me freelance. Now, at another time or another person might have fought that and said, oh my God, no, I have to get it as a mothership production. They might have fought. But in a way, it's like, this was meant to happen because if it was a mothership production and I was leaving right now for a trip to Tahiti, there was no way. Like, I would just be under so much stress during that trip.
Yeah.
So again, it was meant to happen that way. It worked out perfectly.
That way.
It worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
Divine. Just divine.
Divine intervention.
I know. I love it.
It's a good mentality.
It is. It's so good, And the other thing that I found, somebody told me recently, oh my gosh, and this is, I saw it on a video, I think, and it was about, there's no such thing as the future. Now, hear me out on this. It was such a good video because it was like, they were saying that, because when the future comes, it's the present. Like every time you're thinking, oh, in the future this, in the future that, it's like, this was the future of 2 weeks ago. This goes back to like how I was saying, talk to your younger self and say you look good. Like how I did that with like how I didn't like my arms and I'm going to pretend I'm 80 and look back. So the same kind of thing is like, this is such a mind game and it's changed a lot of things for me. Just having seen that video. And that's what I love about social media. Some things are so game changing. That this was so game changing because it was like, oh my God. It was like, you're right. Like because tomorrow is the future, but then it's today. So like today was yesterday's future. Okay.
Okay.
Look at your blank face. But my
like
point,
I get it, but what's the
point is that
the higher
the higher thinking is like be in this moment, enjoying this moment instead of always thinking about, well, tomorrow this and the next day that and tomorrow and next week and next month. And the thing is, I have changed my thinking on this now. And I know that I'm very in the moment. Like I love my moments and I'm out and I'm like, oh my God, I was walking back from a meeting and I'm like, I'm just going to walk back from the meeting and do my phone call, my conference call on the way. I'm going to be in the moment just while I'm walking. One would say it's not in the moment, but it wasn't. I was in the moment. I was listening to the meeting while I was walking home instead of racing back here on a bike to get in front of the computer sweaty and be on the meeting. So it was the same difference. Anyway, so I do feel that I embrace the day and I live the day in the best way possible, and not just since cancer. I think I've always been like this. Maybe I'm even further. Maybe I'm more like this from having been through cancer. I don't think so, though. I don't think about it that way. But I feel very present. But now that I've seen this piece of content, it has made me hyper aware of this. That when I say things like, oh, well, next week this and next month that, and I'm like, it's going to be today. So it's like, all right, what am I doing today? And that's what I start to think. Yeah.
Look at you.
Look at me. Deeper existential thinking.
I feel that way, especially with all these trips. I've been like stressed about like, oh, not being on top of my routine, not being in the comedy game, all that. And I've kind of, with lots of chats with Steven, kind of we're just like, well, let's enjoy this now.
Yes.
And then not like worry, but like once we're back, then it's time for that. But like right now, like I don't want to not enjoy Mexico City or Tahiti or all these trips because I'm stressed about that, all these back-to-back trips.
Exactly. Exactamente. Because that's what we do to ourselves constantly. We're always thinking about the next thing or planning for the next thing. Like we're not even enjoying the thing we're in. So that's what we have to do from now on. That's today's lesson.
That's the Tahiti. That'll be it. The Tahiti.
That's what we're going to do
mindset.
in Tahiti. Oh my God, I can't wait. We better make good content. We have to be on that.
We will.
I will be. I will probably annoy people with it, but that's okay. Because you'll be thanking me later. How funny is it that my prior video of the sailboat Tahiti was a 7-minute long horizontal video? Oh my, how the content has changed since 2017.
I cannot believe how different it's going to be.
A 7-minute video? Like really? And there was slow shots.
Who are you? It was
really
so slow
shots. I couldn't bear it. I couldn't even watch it. I was like, "This."
I watched
painful.
a minute, and I was like, "This is too much."
I was thinking I
think
should
Steven
re-edit
watched
that
the
video.
whole thing. You should. Just edit the new one.
Whatever. We'll have a new one. But
No
the new
one's
one's going to be.
rewatching it.
It's going to be so paced. It's going to move.
It's gonna move.
It's going to move. So exciting. I'm really excited for next week.
I'm very excited. It's gonna be super fun.
Super fun. We'll bring everybody with us.
And we'll have to do a full podcast debrief on the trip.
Okay. I can't wait to share, like, here's what it is like to live on a sailboat. And because in my previous video, I did like bathroom shots. I was trying to explain to people what it was like to shower on a sailboat. I can't wait. It's going to be better this time. There's going to be so much learning. Gosh.
It's going to be fun.
All right. Well, so tune in for our next episode, which will probably be a debrief of the trip. Let's hope. Well, we have some plug-in episodes we're releasing in between, but the next time you hear us fresh, it will be then. And until then, bon voyage. Off we go. Sailing.
I thought you were going to do the yours truly, but I'm just sitting here waiting for the sign-off cue. I did not know that was coming.
I'm
Sailing.
Okay, yours truly.
Helen and Juli.
Yes, we're crazy. If you enjoyed the podcast, we'd love your feedback. You can reach us in many different ways. You can comment on the YouTube link. You can do a review on the Apple Podcast or wherever you listen. I think one of our highest listens is on the Apple Podcast. I was noticing that in the analytics. I'm pretty sure that's the most popular podcasting platform at least for our listeners. So that's kind of interesting info.
Drop us a review.
Raise us up the ladder of podcasting, mother-daughter podcasts. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.